So I build a lot of things, and I think a lot of them are maybe a little bit overwhelming or too complex, or they take too much, skill or whatever. Not to say I have a lot of skill, but is there anything that people can sew that's really useful, that can really make a difference in their gear? And I went and bought a kit from Ripstop by the Roll. This is their winter hammock kit, or winter palace kit. And it's fantastic. They send you all the pieces. They're laser cut, so you don't have to worry about the catenary cuts. It does everything for you, cuts in the doors, so you get these nice big panels. And this is their ultralight, so the whole tarp, not including the suspensions, the tie-outs, but it was 12.9 ounces for this. Not that I would use this in a heavy winter situation. It'd be great during some, like maybe spring or fall type of setups. But what's really cool is they gave all the reinforcements, they provided all the little tie-out Beastie Ds. So a really nice setup, and I can't remember what it costs, but you can go to ripstopbytheroll.com, look under their kits, and you can find it there. And it's so really the only sewing was to put the two pieces together, hammer on the outside, then sew on your little Beastie Ds. And that was it. So this took me 3 days to build. I probably worked on it maybe an hour and a half each night for 3 days. Done deal, and I've got a winter hammock set up. And I'm not really going too in depth on all the different sewing things, just enough maybe to get you all started on it. If you want to know more about all the sewing techniques and things that I do, let's see if we can take a look at the inside. Isn't that great? I've got a lot of other videos. Of course, you can always ask me, but I built a lot of tarps, built a lot of quilts. Yeah, this is a really easy one. All right, so this is one half of the kit that you get. You have two halves, and pretty much all you have to do is do a ridgeline, felled French seam, whatever they call it, right here. So the other half would be right there. This is your ridgeline. Then you would hem all the way around, put in your little reinforcements, and that's it. So this is also basically if you would buy their hex kit. So their hex kit would be the same, except the doors would be off. So so basically that's the door, and if you didn't do the winter kit, you get the hex kit, you get something like that. So come on, down you go. Oh. There's your hex tarp. So those are the doors, and let's go and sew this baby together. All right, so in the kit, this is the pre-cut tarp and doors. And I got the ultralight kit, but I'm assuming that the regular kit would be the same. Very nice. We also get, looks like a bunch of Beastie Ds for your tie-outs. And all these are nicely cut out for you. How nice. That must be some kind of extra, maybe for a stuff sack. Very nice. And then we've got some, looks like some elastic. No, this is just for different tie-out scenarios. Those aren't, so that's the whole kit. Yeah, it has all the different various tie-out reinforcements. Very cool. Okay, quick go over of the machine and what it's set up for. This is I think it's Kenmore basic machine. Got the Mara 70 thread and the AccuSharp needle, and you want a sharp needle when you're dealing with this ultralight stuff, because like in denim or cotton or anything like that, it's a more of a blunt tip needle, and it pushes the fibers away. So this type of nylon or ripstop and all that, you want to make a small hole as you can, and then you want to have as least amount of holes that you can get away with and make it strong. So after looking at a lot of equipment, that's 8 stitches per inch. So that's how I've got my machine set up, and I've done testing to find out what that length is. And so I think I've covered everything that I've got going on here. The first thing we need to do is sew the ridge line. And the ridge line, they call it a flat feld or a French seam or a pseudo flat feld, whatever it is. It's a nice seam that goes back and forth and creates a nice bond between the two halves that's pretty waterproof by itself, except for where the threads go in, and we'll seam seal that later. So we've got to make sure that we've got the two pieces, the right. So as you remember, out in the driveway, there's like a short, long side. And so you want to make sure you're sewing those two short, long sides. So that's right here. You don't want to sew the other one because it'll be backwards. So now what I'll be doing on the first pass is right here on I've got little marker spots, and I've got the outside of the foot, and then I've got a line right there, and I've also got lines over here. So that can give you your estimates. The first pass is going to be, I'm going to ride the fabric right along there. Right now I've got the needle drop down, so that's also a nice thing to do, and it just holds everything for you. And I'll just line that up, and I can just kind of look at it every once in a while, make sure it's lined up, and then sew down. So as I sew down, I can move this back and forth, and I can see both pieces. So I can just sew a little bit, then I can just make sure those are lining up. I know a lot of people like to pin things, and there's also the clamps, but I've just gotten so used to sewing this way. When you're sewing a straight line and it's like pieces of cloth, it really doesn't matter, and I can just keep checking, and it's working good. Now that I've got those two pieces together, what you do now is you invert them, and then we're going to sew. We'll sew down about 1/4 of an inch right there. So that'll be on the outside of my sewing. So all the way down again. Check your bobbin, make sure you've got enough thread to make it, just like I do. What I do is I start it down this way. That's what I've gotten used to doing. I'm so nimble with my fingers. Got the needle down, and you just sew on down again. Seam up there. That out. All right, so the last stage of this seam is to open it up, butterfly it, and then you're going to sew down right there. So now we're going to have to manage a bunch of, half of the tarp's going to be up in here, and we just got to kind of manage that as we go along, but we're just going to be sewing that down. And then that's it. I'll do a seam seal on that later, but that will be the end of the French felled whatever seam. I'm checking all my tensions. Everything looks good. So I want to try and ride my needle fairly close to that edge. And that'll make a nice flat seam. Okay, so in the end, you end up with something that looks like that. So it's a pretty nice little seam. Okay, now on to the reinforcements. Now we'll do the reinforcements. These are for the door tie-outs. These, I'm assuming, are for the center pull-out points. I'm going to start off using the Dutch tie pull-outs. I like those quite a bit because I can adjust where they are, and according to the trees that are around me, I can change that. And these half circles will be for the ridge line and the bottom stakeout points. Now, personally, I put the reinforcements on the underside. I like to keep as much on the outside free for the water to flow. And so we're just going to line this up as well as possible. And we'll trim that later. But for now, we'll just glue down what we want to do. And then we'll cut that later on. You know, my next step, now that I've got the reinforcements on, is I'm going to go and hem all the way around. And I put my reinforcements on the bottom of it. So I'll turn in the hem about 1/4 of an inch. Then you turn it in about 1/4 of an inch more. Then you sew down, and you do a hem all the way around the outside. And again, here's something that people pin, and I don't. So whatever floats your boat. So time to start hemming around the outside. I'm going to refill my bobbin at this point in time because this is going to be a long haul, and we'll see if I can do it on one bobbin. All right, to do the tie outs, and they provide a little nice, actually really nice grill grain. I really like this stuff. Just going to cut this in about 4 inches. Seems to be the good length. And do a little singe on the ends. Keep everything from unraveling. Looking at some of the directions out there, they have you just go through and then fold it over, then tack it down like that, which I suppose is fine. I'm actually a sailor. Have sailboats, and on sailboats they actually kind of distribute the, I'll let go. On sails they actually distribute it out a little bit more. So something like that. And that's how I do it. So I'm just going to sew that across a couple times, and then I'll switch out my zipper foot, or my foot, my sewing machine foot, and then so I can get a little bit closer. But that's how I do it. Now here's a finished one on the ridge line, and so again I'm going to come back later and sew right across there. But I went ahead and sewed some reinforcement stretches or stitches, and then out at a V like that. Okay, for this last little sewing, I've taken my regular zipper foot, or my regular sewing foot, off and put on basically a zipper foot that I have. And you can move your needle around. So I've got it over as far as I can get it. So now that'll get pretty much as close as I can get it over there. Now, if you're just doing webbing on webbing, you can do that tight zigzag pattern. Like on my machine, it would be right there. So that tight zigzag, and really reduce it down. But if I'm sewing anything into this really lightweight fabric, which is pretty much almost like a plastic bag, you want as little amount of holes as you can do. So you don't sit there and do that heavy duty zigzag on there, or you're pretty much going to just make a big hole. So just a few nice little straight stitches at 8 stitches per inch, and you're good to go. So it's really kind of fun, as I never really had a need for a winter tarp. I've been hammocking for years and never needed the doors. Now I've got them, so I'm real excited about using this and seeing what it does for me. There's also just a lot of kits, and I want to kind of use this as a test bed tarp, put some suspension poles, maybe some inner poles. So I'm going to keep working with this tarp. So hopefully you'll see some new things in the future. But go take a look at their kits. I think they've got kits from quilt kits, they've got bag kits. I've done a bunch of their kits. So this one here for under $100, in just a few nights of pretty easy sewing, you can get yourself a pretty nice piece of gear. All right, let's get it out on the trail. Bye now. Gotta do these mouth warm-up exercises.
Oh, not about the tape. I thought it was about the tape, but I thought it was about testing.
Testing.
154-72776554331 is my number one. 'Cause I say what I mean to say.
Okay, ready, action.